I think without a doubt there was some form of atmospheric phenomenon which probably started the Warminster mystery, definitely. The sounds of shingle being tipped onto roofs, a television aerial being dragged across tiles, all this sort of thing. I mean, we are talking in the 1960s, 40 odd years ago now. So reporting was not as accurate as it is these days. We don't have the access to the internet. So quite possibly, yes, it did start. Now, whether it snowballed and then, should we say, media hype took over, it's a very difficult question to answer now. Arthur Shuttlewood's books, on reading them today, are very difficult books to read. As one eminent ufologist said to me a while back, it's a case of wading through treacle. The books were written in a very flowery, very sensationalist style, which was Arthur's trademark, to be perfectly honest. And as for the photograph, then the debate still rages to this day whether or not the Faulkner photograph is real or not. So putting the two together, again, it's possible down to, shall we say, the popular press of the time blowing the Warminster phenomenon out of all proportion. After all these years, even now, I find it very difficult to rationalise what I actually saw in Warminster on those two occasions. Probably the most famous one of the two, which was recreated in Britain's Closest Encounters on television last year, involved a series of red lights which came over from the golf club on Elm Hill, over Cobb Heap, and then over to Battlesbury Hill, equidistantly spaced apart, flashing regularly. Now, they stayed in a completely horizontal line, spaced apart, for about a minute to a minute and a half, and then suddenly the left-hand object, which we would call the leader object, I suppose, shot off to the left at a rapid rate of speed, did a flawless 90-degree turn up into the sky, and didn't return. And then about a minute or so later, the other three lights followed suit. The second sighting that we had, which was a daylight sighting, in August of 1977, I was convinced at the time that I'd actually got photographic evidence, because I'd just passed my O-level in photography, and I had a single-lens reflex camera. And I lined the camera up with this cigar-shaped object that was transversing the sky from right to left. Focused correctly, exposed correctly, had this object directly in the viewfinder each time, shot off 4 shots. And when I got the film back, must have been about a week or so later, there was high grey cloud, blue sky, tips of trees, but no object. So what did we see? I honestly don't know. Without a doubt, a number of the sightings can be put down to the military. There's no doubt about that at all. You have obviously the plain, where army exercises were being carried out in conjunction with the RAF, and of course you have RAF Middle Wallop, which is just down the road, which literally tests new experimental aircraft. So it is a distinct possibility that some of the sightings were in fact, at the time, secret military aircraft. Warminster is unique. Of that there can be no doubt. Britain has a number of window areas: Bonnybridge, Warminster, the Welsh Triangle, and possibly the Pennine Corridor. Warminster is probably the most famous case, but for some reason, and I don't know the reason why to this, it does seem to have been forgotten by mainstream ufologists in this country. Whether that's down to the Arthur Shuttlewood phenomenon is open to debate. But something, I am convinced, strange did happen in that town. Whether it was extraterrestrials, a social phenomenon, who knows?